It's release weekend, and that means there's a ton of cards to order for new and old decks. But how do you narrow it down? Well, here's the 10 cards I'm already avidly awaiting to arrive in my own mailbox that aren't going to sit in the command zone. Because, well, they already got their own video, didn't they, Gonti? Up first is a simple common that offers a lot of flexibility in Metamorphic Blast. 2 mana to make something an 0/1 will come in handy when you can also use it to draw cards if drawn later on, or even better, do both. We've all heard of that game, struggling to get enough lands or things to do, and having our 2 mana interaction having a split mode that gives us cards to solve this is great. There's better ways to do both of these effects, but my Melic deck in particular makes for that 3 mana discount turn this into an incredibly desirable and flexible card, so in it goes. Ninth is a card that came straight out of Gonti and into my equipment deck. Thief of Sanity is one of my all-time favourite cards, and this makes any creature able to do a thief impression. It's at a good rate though, as 1 mana to equip is hard to argue with. Despite offering relatively cheap and strong card advantage, I don't know if it's terribly strong since most decks would rather say a Mask of Memory, but I'll be enjoying casting this more. Number 8 is a pet card, but it has some gas behind it. See, Oblivion Ring was my first ever favourite card in Magic. When I started and had never seen a Swords to Plowshares, 3 mana to answer my friend's Yavimaya Worm seemed like a good deal, and it could also get rid of any surprises. I even built an Oblivion Ring combo deck in Commander once, but that's a tale for another time. The latest version only exiles creatures, but then does one of my other favourite things, letting you play other people's cards by copying whatever you exile. Sadly, if you exile a commander, this won't do anything except kill it, nor will it let you copy enters the battlefield effects. But what it does let you do is equip instantly, giving whatever you copy pseudo haste, and it also lets you move the equipment around. Opponent has, say, a tiny bones you've exiled. You can equip it to your soldier token, attack and copy a spell, then equip it to another token to have Death Touch up for blocks. It's a super unique card that I don't have a deck that fits into perfectly yet, but it's definitely going into my 5 colour cards I want to cast deck that I built for just situations like these. Coming at number 7 is a card you should see a lot of, Bovine Interaction, I mean Intervention, as it's well costed at 2 mana and kills what I see as the most 2 commonly problematic permanent types. You even get to give them an Ox. Maybe a gift's flexibility is worth a mana, but leaving up 2 is somehow much more tenable than 3. Whether people will pick this up remains to be seen, however. It's strong and well costed, but I'm not the first to cut Interaction for more cool cards. But I'll try slot this in a few places. In joint 6th, because I can, is the pair of Rakdos and Annie joins up. But honestly, all the join up cards are pretty neat. Commander decks are often getting tighter and more cutthroat, and the effect of saying Rakdos joins up is good whenever a legendary creature dies, but it's hard to justify playing an enchantment that just does nothing when you play it in most decks, unless the other half of the combo wins the game. But all of these join up cards offer a tempting passive, but actually do something on entering as well. Annie's Naya colours makes it hard to fit in, but it's definitely earning a slot in my Doctor Who deck. Up in force at number 5 is a card I've seen people excited to put in the command zone, but less about her in the 99, where she could easily make waves. See, the Meteorite is nice and all, but these tokens exist in most decks nowadays. She makes them all tap for double, even if you're not trying to do any Meteorite or other token shenanigans. Just the thought of casting Dockside with this out is... yeah, I won't be doing that nonsense. For myself, Roxanne Starfall Savant is going to slot perfectly into my Maelstrom Wanderer deck. She fills the bill perfectly for any big mana deck. For 5 mana she comes down, interacts with something, and effectively untaps with 2 mana ready for next turn, or 1 if she dies. Or for Maelstrom, if you cascade into her, you get to make 2 rocks and deal 4 damage in 1 turn. Number 4 is everyone's favourite mascot character from Thunder Junction. No, not you, but Tiny Bones. A 1/1 Death Touch can hold back any early aggression. You might struggle to get in damage late, but a Death Touch is always pretty likely to find somewhere to go, or at worst trade. What's more is, unlike many of these effects, it doesn't exile the card you cast. You see the psychology in Commander a lot of people not wanting to lose the exile card, but this keeps it in their graveyard, so some might let it slide. At number 3, I never thought we'd see another sword, but here we go. Sword of Protection from Interaction. Wealth and Power. Protection from instant and sorceries once this is equipped means you can feel a sigh of relief as 90% of the possible interaction washes away. And it even does a little extra than Swiftfoot Boots can, as it protects you from damage-based board wipes as well. And unlike Greaves of the Like, it boosts our ability in a fight too with +2/+2. Now, one of the main advantages of the other swords is how they can make blocking harder so you can get damage in, which this doesn't, but I'll be interested to see how it plays out. Once we hit, we will almost always make up our mana. The treasure pays for half the equip and the copy half as well. The sky is the limit. I appreciate the synergy here. If you tap out for the equip and have 1 mana spell like Preordain or Swords, you can still make use of the copy from the treasure. Just bear in mind this gives protection from your instant and sorceries as well, so your creature won't be slipped out the back if someone tries to say make an awkward goodbye. Coming in at number 2 is a card that only slots into one of my decks right now, but boy is it going to be strong there. These bats have already shown how quickly a few tokens can wrap up a game, and Campbell only does half of that but gives you some life in return. In any token deck, he's going to shine, but that first ability is scary. Everyone is making tokens at some point, and this either lets you join in or make them think twice. Opponent has a Smothering Tithe? Well, with Campbell, so do you. I resolved an Elminus's Simulacrum on the game before I wrote this script, and it was great, but if my opponent had a Campbell out, this card is deceptively good, because quite a number of times you won't see how much work it's doing. They need to kill it, make another token first, or let you share in the value. And again, this is basically all passive upside that means you can play this card anywhere if you really want to cast it, but if you're making tokens, death can come real soon. At number 1 we have a new version of an old effect. For a while now, I've simply loved playing Lapse of Certainty in every non-blue but white commander deck. Nobody saw it coming, always had to read it, and its unexpected nature makes it all the more effective. Nothing protects your game plan like holding up a counterspell, and especially as your power level rises, there's a number of threats that can only be interacted with on the stack. With Pride being printed gave us another option since, well, I don't count Mana Tithe even if it can work. Sorry Mana Tithe. But people expect it a little more. And a little bird told me we can expect it a whole lot more. This bird is great. For 3 mana, we get to counter a spell, and unlike Lapse or Reprieve, there's no way to cast it again that turn, or until their next turn, as plotting means you have to cast as a sorcery, which can be a long time in Commander. From there, it costs 2 mana to cast again, which is probably cheaper than Lapse or Reprieve, but in exchange, it makes all spells from exile or graveyards cost more, which will no doubt make any Maelstrom Wanderer deck very sad. If this counters a Wanderer on 8 mana, it basically counters the Cascades as well. And finally, it's both a flyer and a creature, which means my Karametra deck will get a ramp trigger, my Danafer deck can stack some equipment on it, that video's coming soon. But anyway, I think we'll soon be moving to a point where 3 white mana makes people think of counterspells just as much as 2 blue, so this earns my number 1 spot. As one last note, if this targets another counterspell, they can never cast it again, as you can only cast a plotted card as a sorcery. So did you figure out the theme yet? Well, a lot of the cards on this list both interact and do something else. I think it's a great design choice that's really exemplified in this set, that in Commander, a lot of the deck building nowadays is sort of a race towards doing your own thing the fastest, but a lot of the cards on this list let you kind of do both. You got a legendary deck? Well, your thing that doubles your legendary triggers also kills your opponent's threat. You've got a Tiny Bones? Well, that means they have to consider attacking and blocking with Death Touch, or you get a copy. Even Interrupter counters the spell, but then you can synergize with your equipment. You really want Roxanne for the ramp and the tokens, but she's also just going to deal 2 damage here and there, and that's going to matter in some games. I definitely fall victim myself to cutting interaction for cool cards that fit my deck's theme, and that can lead to less fun games at the table. One of the best parts of Magic is the interaction with other players, otherwise you can just solitaire. So this set having so many cards that let us interact while proceeding with our own game plan is great. It does lend towards Magic becoming more and more powerful as time goes on, but I think these particular changes in cards are leaning towards making the game more fun and interactive as well. So what's your list of cards from the set? My list is likely different from yours, as we all like our own stuff, so let me know. Thanks for watching, and feel free to let me know if you want more of these style of videos in the future, and, well, subscribe if so. Take care.